Today, we will hear from foundational Black Americans calling out another disrespectful African immigrant talking crazy about foundational Black Americans. Check it out.
I'm gonna lie, God did his big one making sure that I was part of an actual culture. Like, it's just a good feeling when somebody asks you where you're from. You're able to say any other country just in America itself. Like, somebody can ask you where you're from, and you could probably say, yeah, I'm Guyanese, or I'm African, or I'm Jamaican. You could go start talking about the culture, then the food, they talk about the dancing, they talk about the clothes. It just hits different when you can show and say that you're part of an actual culture. You know, don't get me wrong. Nothing is wrong about being from America, but it's just boring. Like, to say, hey, yeah, I'm from America. Like, there's no vim, there's no energy, there's no excitement with it. Like, what language do you speak? Or we speak English. It just sounds, ugh. But to say that you're African, or to say that you're Ghanaian or Nigerian, to say that you're Jamaican, like, have you ever seen two Jamaicans meet? Like, one more player from Jamaica? Like, it's just, the energy is just there. Like, the energy is just there. But when two Americans meet, it's like, oh, you're American, oh, American too, what state? It's like, But when two Nigerians meet, oh, you're from Igbo, like, you're but like, the energy is just there. The vim is just there. You start smiling, you start talking about the places back home, you start talking about the culture, you start talking about the food, like, everything just hits different when you're part of a culture. Like, God did this big one making sure that I was Ghanaian. I'm African. I'm Ghanaian. So God did this big one making sure that I was part of a culture. Like, once again, don't get me wrong, being American is cool. You know, I'm blessed to be from this country. I'm blessed to be born in this country. But it just hits different when I'm able to see somebody else as African and I can relate to them. It's like being in your own world. You know, it's like being in your own entity, your own space. You speak your specific language, different foods, different clothes, different cultures, different practices. Like, everything is just like, in real life feels like.
So this sounds like an emotional rant to me. Like, maybe he probably heard somebody say something that pissed him off, so he decided to make a video that was kind of throwing shade at Americans, probably really Black Americans, but without actually saying that. So, because I think it's pretty obvious. But my thing is this. So whenever I hear people say stuff like this, I just be thinking to myself, but you're here though. Like, you're like, you talk about how it's boring, there's no culture, there's no language, and whatever, however you feel, who cares, whatever. But you're here. Like, your peoples chose this country to immigrate to. All of those other countries that you were talking about, you could pick up and immigrate to one of those places. I mean, nobody's stopping you. If you want to experience culture in the way that you see culture, then you could very much do that. I mean, you don't have to be here. It's like people think that they throwing shade at us when they say stuff like that, and we just be looking at them like, but you're here. And my thing is, with people who keep saying that foundational Black Americans are so divisive and we're the ones who are starting all of this shit, do y'all just not see these videos at all? These videos just don't come up on your FYP? Or are you too busy in their comment section agreeing with them? Because I went through the comment section and most of people who are not American were agreeing with what he's saying, but yet we're the ones who are xenophobic and divisive. That's interesting. So is it really that America doesn't have any culture? Or is it that you really just don't like Americans, but you don't really want to say that because you kind of look a little bit stupid, seeing as that you're choosing to live here?
Let Us See sung the national Black anthem. John Batiste sung the national anthem. Kendrick Lamar, K-Dot, performed at the halftime show with all Black dancers who were dressed in red, white, and blue. They formed themselves into the American flag and sent multiple messages throughout the entire performance about what it means to be Black in America. And there were other messages weaved throughout the performance that I'm still breaking down. Samuel L. Jackson narrated the entire thing, dressed as Uncle Sam. Serena Williams made an appearance and danced. My wife SZA performed. The revolution was televised. The revolution was televised, and it was televised on one of the largest stages ever.
Black Americans, lock in. This is serious. Give yourself a second. You ready? Fried catfish, spaghetti, corn on the cob, Hawaiian roll, banana pudding. That's the left side. Right side, blackened salmon, red beans and rice / red rice, depending on your region, collard greens, cornbread, yellow cake, chocolate icing. Right side. Make your decision. Again, I say this is serious.
I gonna lie, God did this big one making sure that I was part of an actual culture. Like, it's just a good feeling when somebody asks you where you're from. You're able to say any other country just in America itself. Like, somebody can ask you where you're from, and you could probably say, yeah, I'm Guyanese, or I'm African, or I'm Jamaican. They could go to start talking about the culture, then the food, they talk about the dancing, they talk about the clothes. It just hits different when you can show and say that you're part of an actual culture.
Saying all that while living in America is crazy. It's also crazy that you said God did his big one. Did his big one? Isn't that BAVE, Black American Vernacular English? I don't believe that comes from your culture. I believe that is Black American culture, is it not? Ebonics is Black American culture, right? Even then, I don't believe you know where you come from. You say Ghana, but I don't think you can trace your ancestors or trace your lineage. Let's go lineage for lineage, ancestor for ancestor, paperwork for paperwork, document for document. Let me see your census records. I'll show you mine. Let's see birth records, death records, military records. I don't believe you can do that. And if you can't do that, you don't know where you're from. However, Black Americans can do that. We can prove who we come from and where we come from. Thus, we can also prove our culture. Because y'all told us oral history don't count. So, fuck all y'all oral history. That's for everybody. Let's go paperwork for paperwork. Let's have a paperwork party. And I'm not talking about the prison style. I'm just talking about proving your lineage.
And so, like, all the Black Americans out there, please do not let these people tell you don't have no damn culture. Not only do you have a culture, you are the culture, my love. You're the culture. They tell you this so, number one, they can benefit from your culture. And number two, they don't have to credit you for benefiting from your culture. Please do not let them brainwash you and tell you ain't got no damn culture, babe. You know who the f*** everybody we stealing from.
And when a Black person says that we're the blueprint, we're not saying that we've made everything. What are the two most popular song categories to this day? Rap, pop. Who are those made by? Black people. What are some popular fashion choices that people are making right now? Baggy pants, big shirt, chains, grills, Jordans. Those were all inspired by Black people. What about some slang? What's some slang that we're using right now? Is it popular terms from AV and Ebonics? You know those come from Black people too, right? Just because they're gentrified does not mean that it stops coming from Black people. So no, we're not arguing whether we've made the toaster oven or not. We're talking about the fact that y'all include Black-inspired things in your everyday life, for the most part. Even down to the initial purpose of this app. Who began dancing before all this shit? Black people. Black people were making dancing videos, and white people were copying them and becoming famous off it. And you know who I'm talking about. I could be talking about a lot of different people, but there's a main one that you know that I'm talking about. For the last, decade and a half, Black has been the standard. So I don't know why people are so against Black people saying that we're the blueprint when socially, we are and have been for a while.
But I gonna lie, God did this big one making sure that I was part of an actual culture. Like, it's just a good feeling when somebody asks you where you're from. You're able to say any other country just in America itself. Like, somebody can ask you where you're from, and you could probably say, yeah, I'm Guyanese, or I'm African, or I'm Jamaican. They could go start talking about the culture, then the food, they talk about the dancing, they talk about the clothes. It just hits different when you can show and say that you're part of an actual culture. You know, don't get me wrong, nothing is wrong about being from America, but it's just boring.
Then why you out here checking for Black Americans? Making all that noise while speaking English with a Black American aesthetic is diabolical. None of us want to be from Africa. None of us want to flex being from Africa. We can care less. But you know what is emulated everywhere? Black American aesthetic, Black American culture, right? Our culture is one of the most emulated cultures in the entire world. You go almost anywhere on the planet and you will find some form of Black American culture. Even in China, they emulate Black American culture. Even in Africa, they imitate Black American hip-hop culture. But the thing is, our culture is so emulated and copied that y'all actually think y'all have some kind of right to it. That it's a natural thing the way y'all talk, walk, and act. That y'all just copying some cool aesthetic. No, you're copying Black American culture.
There is a major cultural wake-up call happening right now, and it is especially important for African, Latin American, Caribbean, and other immigrants who come to the United States believing that they already understand what Black American culture is. For decades, people around the world have studied, admired, adopted, remixed, and exported elements of Black American culture. From music and fashion to language, dance, entertainment, sports, hairstyles, food, and attitudes towards self-expression, Black American cultural influence has traveled far beyond the United States. But there is one major lesson that is often missing. People study the culture without studying the history of the people who created it, and that creates a serious misunderstanding. Let's be clear. Foundational Black American culture did not simply appear in the 1970s, 1980s, or 1990s. Its roots go back centuries. Descendants of foundational Black Americans preserved traditions while creating new cultural forms under uniquely American circumstances. Over generations, those traditions mixed with indigenous influences and developed into distinctly foundational Black American expressions. The Smithsonian itself explains that foundational Black American influences are fundamental to American music, describing Black American music as a foundation of American musical culture and emphasizing how it eventually influenced Americans of virtually every racial and ethnic background. Think about what happened with the blues, jazz, gospel, rhythm and blues, soul, funk, rock and roll, and eventually hip-hop. These weren't simply styles that somebody invented in a corporate office and handed to America. They emerged from foundational Black American communities. The blues developed from Black American musical traditions. Jazz developed from Black American musicians combining different musical influences with blues, ragtime, sacred music, and other traditions. The Smithsonian notes that Black American musicians created jazz through this process of cultural innovation and musical hybridization. And then came generations of cultural innovation that would influence the entire planet. By the late 20th century, Black American culture had become one of America's most powerful cultural exports. People around the world were listening to Black American music, wearing styles associated with Black American communities, learning Black American dances, adopting Black American slang, studying Black American entertainment, and incorporating elements of Black American fashion and aesthetics into their own cultures. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with appreciating another people's culture. The problem begins when appreciation becomes imitation without acknowledgement, and imitation becomes entitlement. Because if you are going to use the culture, you should understand where the culture came from. This is where today's foundational Black Americans are beginning to have a different conversation. Many younger generations of foundational Black Americans are reminding people that we are the culture. It is inaccurate to erase or minimize the enormous contributions of Black Americans and then simply label those contributions American culture as though they have no specific history. That distinction matters. The Smithsonian makes essentially this point about music. Black American musical traditions became so deeply embedded in American life that they eventually influenced Americans across racial and ethnic lines. And that is the part of the history that many people don't understand. Black American culture became American culture in many areas precisely because its influence became so widespread. Once everybody adopts something, people sometimes forget who originated it. That creates a historical problem. Imagine someone growing up in another country watching American movies, listening to American music, seeing American celebrities, and consuming American social media. They may develop a very strong image of America, but when they arrive here, they may discover something unexpected. The culture they thought was simply American often has a much deeper foundational Black American history. And that discovery can produce cognitive dissonance, especially when somebody has previously been taught that white Americans were responsible for most of America's cultural achievements. And now, a new generation of foundational Black Americans is saying, we want the history attached to the culture. Because you cannot properly understand modern America without understanding the contributions of Black Americans. And you certainly cannot understand the worldwide influence of American culture without understanding the enormous influence of foundational Black American culture. Tell me what you think about this topic. Hope you find the information in this video informative. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. Thanks for watching.